My name is Julian Keys, and the first thing my sister said when I reached the table wasn't hello. She didn't even look at me. Just glanced past my shoulder and asked, quietly but sharp, "You didn't bring her, right?" I knew exactly who she meant. My daughter, Emma. 8 years old. Polite. The kind of kid who thanks waiters and notices when adults stop smiling. She wouldn't belong here, my mother added, folding her napkin with surgical precision. This place is elevated. I felt it then, that familiar tightening in my chest. The instinct to argue. To defend. And the flaw that always wins. I stayed quiet. I smiled. I pulled out my chair. The restaurant was all low light and polished wood. Soft jazz humming like it was afraid to interrupt the money in the room. Every surface reflected something expensive. My family was already mid-conversation. Investments, real estate, my brother-in-law's new watch. They relaxed when I sat down alone. Good, I thought. Let them assume. Emma was safe. Upstairs. With room service and a kid's menu she'd circled twice before I left. My sister laughed about how children change the energy of places like this. My father nodded along. I traced a thin crack in the table with my thumb, grounding myself, reminding myself why I'd chosen tonight. No one asked why I picked this restaurant. No one asked whose name was on the reservation. Then the waiter returned, placed his hand lightly on the back of my chair and said, "Mr. Keys, shall we proceed as planned?" Every fork paused. Every voice faded. And for the first time that night, all eyes finally landed on me. The silence didn't last long, but it cracked something. My sister recovered first. She laughed, light and dismissive. "As planned?" she echoed, rolling the words around like a joke she didn't get. "Wow. Fancy." The waiter nodded politely, already pulling out another chair beside mine. "We'll be serving the tasting menu and courses, Mr. Keys." "As requested." "Shall I bring the first pour?" My father frowned. "Julian," he said low. "What exactly is going on?" I shrugged, the smallest movement. "Dinner?" I replied. "Isn't that why we're here?" Menus closed around the table like synchronized doors. The first plates arrived, tiny, precise, edible art. My mother murmured approval. My brother-in-law took photos. The wine flowed. Expensive names. Older years. They relaxed again. That's the thing about my family, they settle quickly when nothing looks threatening. Between courses, my sister leaned over. "So," she said, smiling with all teeth, "how's work?" There it was. The question that always came with a ceiling. "Busy?" I answered. She nodded, satisfied. "Good. Busy is good." I watched her reach for another roll, watched my father cut his steak too early, watched my mother check the room like she needed witnesses. No one noticed when the waiter came back, not to the head of the table but to me. He spoke quietly. "Sir, just confirming, your guest upstairs will be joining us for dessert, correct?" I didn't look away from my plate. "Yes," I said. "She will." The word guest landed heavy. My sister froze mid-bite. My mother's smile thinned. And for the first time they started to understand. This dinner wasn't happening to me. It was happening because of me. My mother cleared her throat, the sound sharp against the soft music. "Upstairs?" she asked as if the word itself were a problem. "Who's upstairs, Julian?" I took a sip of wine. It tasted like black cherries and something older. "Emma," I said. "She's having a great time." My sister set her fork down carefully. Too carefully. "You brought her?" she said. "After we were clear?" "No," I replied. "I respected your rules. She's not here." That distinction didn't comfort them. My father leaned back, studying me like he was searching for a tell. "This isn't appropriate," he said. "You don't bring children to business dinners." I smiled again. It felt tired this time. "It's not a business dinner." The next course arrived. Something with foam and a French name no one could pronounce. My sister barely touched hers. My mother kept glancing toward the stairs like Emma might appear any second. "She doesn't belong in rooms like this," my sister said finally, quieter now. "You know that." I felt it then. The urge to snap. To list every reason my daughter belonged anywhere kindness was required. Instead, I rubbed my thumb against the stem of my glass. "She belongs where she's invited," I said. "And tonight she is." The waiter returned again, placing a small card beside my plate. I recognized my own handwriting on the back. A note I'd written weeks ago just in case I lost my nerve. My father saw it. "What's that?" I slid it into my jacket pocket. "Just a reminder," I said. The check hadn't arrived yet, but the weight of it already sat between us. And beneath the table my phone vibrated. One message, short and bright. Dessert looks amazing, Dad. I smiled for real this time. Dessert came before anyone asked for it. That alone should have told them something. The waiter didn't ask preferences. He didn't list options. He just placed the plates down like this part of the night had already been decided. Chocolate domes cracking under warm sauce. Gold flakes catching the light. My mother's eyes widened despite herself. This place really is something, my sister muttered. It is, I agreed. My father finally pushed his chair back an inch. Julian, he said, voice tight now, you're being strange. First the waiter, then this upstairs situation. If there's something you're trying to prove. I'm not proving anything, I said. I'm hosting dinner. That word landed wrong. My sister laughed sharp. You? Hosting? She glanced around. Do you have any idea what a night like this costs? I nodded. I do. She scoffed. Then why pretend? Just say you wanted to feel important for once. That one stung. Because part of it was true. Not the money but the feeling. I wanted just once to not be the quiet one at the table. The afterthought. The son whose success was always assumed to be temporary. The waiter returned, not with plates but with a leather folder. Thick. Heavy. He didn't open it. Just placed it gently in front of me. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Keyes, he said. My sister leaned forward. Oh no, she said quickly. Split checks. We'll do separate. The waiter didn't move. He just looked at me. I met his eyes and said calmly, no. One bill. That's when the room finally understood. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a moment. The folder stayed closed, but it pulled every gaze toward it like gravity. My mother spoke first, softer now. Julian, sweetheart, you don't have to do this. Do what? I asked. Make a point, she said. We can handle our own meals. I nodded slowly. I know you can. My sister's smile had vanished. Then why insist on one bill? Because I remembered every birthday dinner where I was told to keep it simple. Every time Emma's presence was described as an inconvenience. Because I was tired of translating our worth into smaller words so they'd feel comfortable. But I didn't say any of that. I invited you, I said instead. This one's on me. My father exhaled sharply. This is reckless. The waiter finally opened the folder. He didn't turn it toward the table. He turned it toward me. I glanced down, rows of numbers, clean and precise. $43,218. No cents. Someone had planned that. My sister leaned over trying to peek. Julian, she hissed, that's not funny. I closed the folder and slid it back to the center of the table, still facing me. I agree. Silence stretched. The jazz felt louder now. Somewhere a glass clinked. A laugh from another table floated in, careless and free. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, not to check a balance, not to call anyone. Just to send a message. You can come down for dessert. A moment later, the waiter nodded. She's on her way, sir. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My sister whispered, you didn't. I did. And for the first time all night, I wasn't asking permission. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs holding a small dessert fork like it was a trophy. She wore the blue dress she'd picked herself, the one with the tiny silver buttons she kept fiddling with when she was nervous. Her hair was still a little damp from the bath. She scanned the room, spotted me and smiled, wide, unguarded, the kind of smile that doesn't ask if it's welcome. That smile cracked something in me. The waiter walked beside her, matching her pace. When they reached the table, he pulled out the chair next to mine as naturally as if she'd been there all along. Hi, Emma said softly. No one answered at first. My sister looked like she'd swallowed something sharp. My mother's eyes flicked from Emma to me, searching for a version of this night she could still control. My father stared at the table, jaw tight. Emma climbed into her chair and leaned toward me. They have chocolate cake with raspberry inside, she whispered. The chef showed me. That sounds perfect, I said. The waiter placed a smaller plate in front of her. Same gold rim. Same care. This is highly inappropriate, my sister muttered. Emma heard her. Of course she did. She always heard things adults assumed kids missed. She looked up at my sister and said politely, I won't be loud. Something in the room shifted again, deeper this time. Because Emma wasn't asking to belong. She was simply there. And suddenly all their rules sounded very small. No one touched their dessert. Emma took a careful bite, eyes lighting up like the world had just proven itself kind. She hummed without realizing it. That sound, soft content, felt louder than any argument my family had ever thrown at me. My father finally looked up. Not at Emma. At me. You should have told us, he said. Told you what? I asked. That you were doing well. There it was. The confession wrapped as an accusation. I didn't think it mattered, I said. And I meant it. I'd spent years believing my life only counted once it was approved. My sister crossed her arms. This still doesn't make sense. You don't just walk into a place like this and drop 40 grand. I glanced at Emma, then back to the table. You're right, I said. You don't walk in. The waiter returned, this time with a small black tablet. He placed it beside my plate and waited, patient, like the end of a long sentence. I didn't walk in, I continued. I negotiated. Months ago. Corporate buyout dinner. Quiet night. Private floor. They asked who the guest of honor was. My mother's voice was barely there. And who was it? I slid my card onto the tray, steady hand, no flourish. My daughter. The waiter nodded. Payment approved, Mr. Keys. A soft chime. Final. No applause. No gasps. Just the sudden, undeniable rearranging of the room. Respect doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, when there's nothing left to argue. Emma reached for my hand. And this time, no one told her she didn't belong. We didn't linger after that. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted a dramatic exit. I just didn't need anything else from the room. Emma wiped her hands carefully, folded her napkin the way she'd watched my mother do it earlier, and looked up at me. Can we go now? She asked, gentle. Yes, I said. We can. I stood first, then helped her down from the chair. No one stopped us. No one offered a comment that mattered. My sister stared at her plate like it had betrayed her. My mother's eyes followed Emma, not unkind now, just late. At the door my father spoke. Julian. I turned. He hesitated. That alone felt unfamiliar. You did good, he said. Not proud. Not apologetic. Just honest. I nodded once. That was enough. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. Emma slipped her hand into mine and swung it once, playful, like the weight of the evening had already fallen off her shoulders. Did I belong? She asked. I stopped walking. Knelt so we were eye level. You always did, I said. Some people just took longer to notice. She smiled, satisfied with that answer, and pointed at the city lights. Can we get ice cream? I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that comes after you stop trying to prove yourself. Behind us, the restaurant glowed, expensive, exclusive, finally quiet. Inside that room, respect had changed sides. But out here, walking forward with my daughter, I realized something better had changed too. I no longer needed it.